Good morning. This is the Bitcoin Morning Brief. I'm Leah Wald here with Tone Vase. Unfortunately, we don't have Jimmy and Giacomo today, but we'll see maybe if they're able to join. Tone, it looks like we're both wearing button-ups today, or a little bit on the corporate side for the both of us.
Yeah, we are. You can't barely see mine though. It's way too early in the morning, which is also why we don't have Jimmy. And I'm just sitting anyway, in the most convenient spot for me, not necessarily for you guys. But yes, so I have to get to the conference down in Aventura, which is closer to Fort Lauderdale, but it is a Miami conference. So yeah, so the show is early, though significantly later than we originally planned.
Very true. And it's definitely a different background from what you had yesterday.
Yeah, which is like literally like right outside this thing. But
all right, sharing screen. Okay, so I think it'll get some of your viewers heated up here. The WikiLeaks shop says that Coinbase has suspended its account. So pretty much just as it says, Coinbase has reportedly closed WikiLeaks shop, saying that it violates their terms of service. So regardless of my position on WikiLeaks and my belief that Coinbase has myriad of problems, I do believe that this story specifically is about Coinbase being, again, a privately held company, and that it's in their right to exclude whomever they want, just as Twitter and Google banned crypto ads, although obviously those are publicly traded companies. So Tone, as a different side topic, anti-money laundering is a hot topic. Do you think that Coinbase is doing what they think the government thinks they need to do in order not to get in trouble?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, guys, Coinbase is a bank. Coinbase is everything that we used to hate about like banks and why we joined Bitcoin to begin with. Now, unlike the majority of the crypto space, I recognized this back in 2013, 2014, and the very first blog post I have ever written before anyone even knew who I was were about how terrible Coinbase is and how you should never ever use them. I mean, I've been on that bandwagon since I think it was like crawling on me, which is weird. I've been on that bandwagon since literally almost the creation of Coinbase, because it is just a bank, and probably worse, it's a bank that is tracking your Bitcoin stuff. So if the government ever wants to declare Bitcoin illegal, anyone that has ever used Coinbase is potentially a target for the government. Like, I can't even begin to say what a terrible company Coinbase actually is. And I've been saying it since 2013 and 2014, but people just want to be lazy and don't want to pay an extra 1 or 2% on their Bitcoin to maintain their anonymity, which again goes to say that most people don't care about anonymity. And when they say how Monero is useful, they're just lying. Like, if you want Monero, if you think Monero is useful, if you think Monero is going to exist and it'll have better privacy than Bitcoin, but you also use Coinbase, you are a hypocrite. Just admit that you are a hypocrite, and that's it. You know, and everything will be fine. So, yeah. So they didn't like. They're basically WikiLeaks shop. They're not selling anything illegal. They're selling like hats that say WikiLeaks on them, right? And Coinbase has cut them off, just like PayPal and Visa and MasterCard cut them off. Now, WikiLeaks is the reason why I am in Bitcoin. So this story, hits me personally, because my very first use case where I said to myself, whoa, what is this Bitcoin thing, was when WikiLeaks was getting funding through Bitcoin donations, because they got cut off from institutions like Coinbase from getting donations. So yeah, so I find this very, very frustrating. And Coinbase is a bank. That's it, pure and simple, right? They're more dangerous than a bank. They're a dozen times more dangerous than a bank, because they're tracking you and your Bitcoin activity, which is potentially a disruptor for banks and governments. I don't know, like the more people use Coinbase, the more I begin, again, like my price outlook so far is generally bearish. And people keep telling me to look at the fundamentals, where the fundamentals are telling me that the more people that use Coinbase, the more dangerous it is for Bitcoin holders in general, not the better it is for Bitcoin holders in general.
Right. The pot calling the kettle black, I think is what you were saying earlier. Yeah, you have to be very careful because the government can come down on you because of KYC, as you're saying. But there's many more exchanges, right? Rather than Coinbase that don't require KYC. Where do you think WikiLeaks shop may go?
No, they're just gonna have to accept Bitcoin directly. I mean, that's where these things are going, right? Like, I'm actually surprised that WikiLeaks was even using Coinbase. WikiLeaks should understand Bitcoin, and WikiLeaks should not be using Coinbase. Like, the WikiLeaks is a little bit it's not all on Coinbase, right? Like guys, WikiLeaks, you should know better. Like if Tone Vase opened up, some kind of a shop, no way in hell am I going to use Coinbase. I'm just going to accept Bitcoin directly. Go try to use Lightning if you can. Maybe it's a little too early, but they're just going to accept it directly. They may go with BitPay, but that's just as bad. I mean, BitPay is just a wholly owned subsidiary of Bitmain. So they're all bought Bitcoin Cash, so you don't want to do that. Just accept Bitcoin directly and use Bitcoin. Use Bitcoin to pay your employees. Like, I mean, I know you have to pay for like servers and stuff, and try to get them to accept Bitcoin. Start feeding Bitcoin through the economy if you could.
Yeah. Again, just on the surface, personally, I don't have a problem with Coinbase choosing as a private company to ban. But again, going deeper for Coinbase, and the entire ecosystem, since this is Coinbase commerce, I agree with you. Although regarding Coinbase, I do see where they're coming from regarding anti-money laundering, and that, usually businesses can be set up and are the targets, obviously, for shells for money laundering schemes. So I think they're covering their butts. But I do agree with what you're saying. And we shall see on WikiLeaks. So the next story, also Coinbase. See how much you ripped this one. So Coinbase to resign its partnership with cheapair.com as they look at BitPay as a substitute. So again, I see this kind of similarly to the previous, but I do think that, I'm going to go against you a little bit, that the ease, though, of Coinbase surpasses BitPay. But I'll just turn this over to you. What do you see happening here?
Well, so it's almost the same, right? So in the case of WikiLeaks, Coinbase is just canceling their account because they're scared to deal with a company like Coinbase. They're scared to deal with a company like WikiLeaks. Meanwhile, WikiLeaks is what Bitcoin is all about, right? In this case, it's a little bit different. So CheapAir was one of the first companies to ever accept Bitcoin payments for anything. I know people that exclusively, buy hotels and airfare. I'm not sure if you could buy hotels, but definitely airfare, obviously, through them. And they were one of the first merchants to accept Bitcoin. And now they're trying to figure out what to do. This is a different initiative. This is an initiative that basically explains why Coinbase hates Bitcoin. They don't want to be a merchant provider anymore. Coinbase wants to be a shitcoin exchange and make money by holding on to scam coins that they get to pump, like Ethereum and Btrash and eventually Ripple or another scam coin, right? So it sounds like the brass of Coinbase is tired of all of these other altcoin exchanges getting rich by preloading up on the coin and then launching it and then making a shit ton of money. So they are actually dropping support in a technological way for companies like CheapAir to continue being one of the first major companies to accept Bitcoin. And again, this is a move by Brian Armstrong, who wants Bitcoin to absolutely die, and all he wants is to get rich on his Bcash and his Ethereum.
Drew, now, question back to you. I believe it was in 2014 that CheapAir had announced that it was accepting Litecoin and Dogecoin. by the way of GoCoin, another cryptocurrency payment processor. Do you think that also, given these ties to Litecoin but Dogecoin, again, potentially Coinbase just not wanting to meddle in a space that they don't fully understand right now regarding what the SEC may do?
No, well, there's like two separate things there, right? Like it's yeah, from the side of cheap air, I don't know how big the operation of cheap air is, but I don't know why these companies, these big companies, right? I mean, accept Bitcoin directly and hedge your risk. You know, you have CME futures now. You can hedge your risk of all of the Bitcoin that comes in. If only like 5 or 10% of your sales are Bitcoin, you may be able to hold through the Bitcoin volatility and keep your business operational. And then, you know, set up, you know, have a phone, you know, have a line set up to some OTC trading desks that can take it off your hands for you and put the money directly in your bank account. If your operation is such that you're making a lot of Bitcoin and the volatility of Bitcoin can actually hinder your physical business because you have fiat, you know, obligations, then use the CME futures to hedge your bets. Like hire an employee that's, you know, not a gambler, but that's an expert in hedging, right? Like if you got, let's say, 3 Bitcoin last week in your sales, hedge the 3 Bitcoin with a future contract by selling that Bitcoin forward. And now you don't have to, I mean, that's what the futures contracts are for. So, I mean, the fact that cheap air accepts, you know, Dogecoin and other scam coins is unfortunate. It shows that while they are opportunistic in using crypto, they don't really understand, you know, a lot of these other altcoins and that they're scammy and that they're not helping the ecosystem by accepting those. But yeah, look, if you're going to accept strange forms of payment, even euros, or I mean, you can accept, you know, whatever you like, pounds. Just use the traditional markets to hedge your currency risk. This is very doable. You know, lots of people know how to do this.
Right, and that's what has always been done. Just to note, I do believe it was 2013, right, when they started accepting Bitcoin, which, correct, as you said, was the first for the travel industry. Although I was reading,
So I remember those announcements. There were 3 major companies back then that were, it was Cheap Air, it was DirecTV or Dish Network, one of the, you know, satellite cable providers, and it was Overstock. I mean, those 3 were like the 3 big companies. And we haven't heard anything like that, right, from any other really big company accepting Bitcoin.
Right. Although Overstock's having some issues. Although back then, when I was trying to do a little research, if I'm incorrect, please let me know, that it was back then that they also said that they were trying to work with BitPay. I don't know I think that they did, but I'm not entirely sure, but they had announced that, and they had announced that their concern was that BitPay does not support non-payment protocol wallets, wallets that aren't BIP 70 compliant. So that if you didn't have that compatible wallet, you'd have to get one and use it as an intermediate stage for the Bitcoin payment. So, you know, I don't know how, it doesn't very much sound easy.
No, they're both terrible. Like BitPay and Coinbase, they're both absolutely terrible. So just, you know, start accepting Bitcoin directly. I mean, Bitcoin isn't going to go anywhere if we continue to have these incompetent companies like BitPay and Coinbase processing your transactions. I think it hurts the space more than it helps.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Just to end on that note, they are leaving it open, that this is where I think, quote unquote, they'd love your input. So have at. All right, so I like this story. Sequoia sues crypto exchange Binance after investment deal collapses. We've definitely heard our fair share of issues with Binance. But this story, Binance went around Sequoia to try to get a better deal, which is stupid in my eyes because Sequoia is brilliant. But regarding VCs.
I'm sorry. They can't be that brilliant if they were going to invest in Binance. Binance is a scam. But go on.
True. True. They do, but regarding their track record, but okay. But I do also, okay, then saying something different, I do think that they are typically straight. So
That's for damn sure. Yeah.
So I do think their issue here was simply that they saw someone trying to screw around with them, and that's not going to get far with Sequoia. I think that Sequoia is going to come down hard on anyone that tries to do that because they can, right? And that's also their MO. So Tone, if the VC world sees an opportunity, right, they'll take it. Which is, to your point, they've made crappy decisions, but if they see that opportunity, they're going to try to do it. But they'll take it, but they'll come down hard as soon as they see, and I'm going to say it, some drunken cowboys doing something stupid. But what do you see in this story?
Yeah, so I mean, Sequoia is as legit of a VC as they come. They invested in Google, I think, and they've done a lot. Oh, you should pull up the. Oh, you can't pull up the Bloomberg story for some reason, right?
Yeah, let me try.
Click on the report. Click on according to a report, the blue report.
All right, let's do this. Come on, Bloomberg. There we go.
There it is. You got it. Yeah.
Nope.
What happened? You lost it?
No, I don't have an account. Anyone want to fund me?
How come? I know. How come I always able to see it?
You have much better understanding of how to get around.
No, but I didn't do
corporates.
anything. I clicked on the same button you did. Okay. Anyway, so look. So this is once again, as I referred to in my tweet, shady as F. Okay. So it is yet another controversy surrounding CZ, Changpeng Zhao. Okay. Now, if those of you guys recall, he was the CTO of OKCoin, and he either got fired or quit. And he was also involved in that controversy between Roger Ver and the Bitcoin.com website that I barely remember what happened there, but that whole controversy over OKCoin. So now he's in charge of Binance, and Binance has already had like several issues. Now, the Bloomberg article states that CZ is worth like $2 billion. Yeah, when you print your own money, you can be worth $2 billion if you can sell the printed money that you print. Okay, so Binance is probably the shadiest exchange on the market because they printed their own token. And so I personally think that Binance is going to exit scam all of you. That would be the last exchange that I would consider to be using. But hey, to each their own. You guys want another Mt. Gox, and there you go. Again, this is what happened. And Sequoia should also know better, right? You're dealing with a Chinese company, and the CEO has had, questions in the past as well. So this is what's going to happen. I know the VC wants to be, what do you call it? Opportunistic, and there was definitely money to be made here. And yeah, let's see what happens with the lawsuit. My guess is absolutely nothing is going to happen here. And if Binance was going to print their own money, why did they need outside funding? And it's funny how they went for outside funding, and then the price of Bitcoin went up, and then they ICO'd, and then they say in the Bloomberg article, well, we don't really need any funding. We're just going to VCs so that they can help us, navigate the regulatory landscape. I mean, I don't believe anything that comes out of their mouth, like from that company. I don't like. It's unfortunate that the majority of traders are trading there, because I think that's like, I mean, it's not the least company to be trusted, but as far as somewhere where you're gonna put your money on like a top 5 or top 7 most liquid and popular exchanges, I would think that that is probably the most shadiest one of them all, but hey, to each their own.
Correct. And I think it's one point that you made very interesting. That's true that they went for traditional capital. 2, I think that this shows kind of ineptitude going on right now, which is still surprising me in Silicon Valley because correct, I mean, they invested in actually Apple, Google, Oracle, PayPal, I believe Stripe. I know YouTube, Instagram, Yahoo, WhatsApp. I mean, like they're not dumb with a very long track record. So correct, maybe a very interesting takeaway in my eyes is that
Look, I'm sorry, this might be new to them.
finance.
This might be new to them, right? I mean, look, we've all seen the genius of Balaji coming in here talking about revolutionizing mining, and that company disappeared faster than it started, right? I mean, it's a different industry, right? I mean, they did amazingly well. They probably are the best, internet tech VC there was and possibly still is. But it really depends who showed up there trying to convince them which crypto projects to invest in. And it doesn't mean they're going to be the leaders here. In fact, these are the kinds of things that destroy a leader in a former, like if you were a leader in 20 years, or in the prior set of technologies, again, these are the kinds of dumb decisions that make sure that no company ever lasts, 100 years plus.
So yeah, moving straight into another Binance story, back to back. MobileCoin, a cryptocurrency from the creator of Signal, just raised 30 million for mobile payments. So they're making the argument here that it's important that the people that are coming into this deal, that it's the founder of Signal, which I don't know if everybody knows, is the most secure messaging app, however you want to say that, considered by everybody. Maybe we should move from Telegram, given that it was recently hacked, and I know that firsthand. But so again, yeah, the way I see this story is that MobileCoin, which is, a new privacy-centered cryptocurrency, announced that, this Binance Labs, which I didn't know about actually, is going to lead this funding round. And I think it's a scammy company, obviously Binance is scammy to divert attention potentially away from the bad attention that they're getting, even with Sequoia. But they can make a lot of money by coming up with more ICOs. And I see that is what they're doing here and scamming more people with a new coin.
Yeah,
Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, this is bad. Well, because I read these two stories back to back, this is why I'm convinced that Binance is really bad. And so is this coin. It's now let's start with, first of all, WhatsApp is probably one of the worst text messaging apps I've ever used. Their security is absolutely terrible.
Bought by Facebook.
And I'm not even a security guy because they claim they have end-to-end encryption, but if you're using WhatsApp and you're connected to a Wi-Fi router, and the person that has the admin credentials to that Wi-Fi router knows what he's doing, he can just copy all of your messages before as they're hitting your router before they get encrypted, and have a local copy of all of your messages. That was explained to me while I was down in Miami. And here's the dumbest thing that WhatsApp does, right? When some fool adds me to a WhatsApp group of like 400 people, every one of those 400 people now knows my phone number. I mean, that is probably one of the dumbest things an app can do, and WhatsApp does that. So let's not talk about the amazing security of WhatsApp. Signal, as far as I know, has very good security. It's just like not a very user-friendly app, and a lot of people, the notifications don't work too well, and it doesn't interface as good between users of Signal and non-users of Signal because it replaces your native messenger. So while I use it, because a lot of people use it, and I wouldn't be able to text with some people if I didn't use Signal, I don't find it to be all that great, to be honest with you guys. And this article basically props up a person. I mean, I've never heard of him, but I'm sure he's a rock star in creating encryption messaging, and clearly he's tired of doing that and wants to scam people by printing his own money. I mean, eventually everyone has a price. Everyone eventually has a price. When you are given an offer to print your own money, you are gonna print your own money. Everyone can be bought. Everyone will be bought. I don't know where my price is. I don't know where Leah's price is. I don't know where Jimmy's price is. It's a lot higher than this guy's, okay? And it's a lot higher than Changpeng Zhao. Like, it needs to be, I don't know where that price is. Maybe that price, hopefully that price will never come. But we'll see. Clearly, this guy wants to print his own money. And how about the article mention how they're going to secure this coin? Is it proof of work? Is it proof of stake? I mean, this is complete nonsense. Again, this is going to be another Zcash or another Steemit. There's nothing here, and it's just a guy that wants to get rich by printing his own money and scamming a bunch of users. I mean, this is what it's coming down to.
Absolutely, and a lot of hypocrisy as well, given his background being a bit quite reputable and against this in the past. So I think, to your point, it's interesting on the price point where people can be bought. At what point could you be bought for a modeling contract?
Oh yeah, no, I'm.
That's what you often get, right?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna attend one of your shoots and see if I can get priced out.
Oh geez, yeah, you'll win on this. All right.
Wait. I have one final thought on that. If you go back to that story, oh man, I already forgot what that thought was. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We can just move on. It's fine.
I was just reading the last part. I love this. In the digital currency realm, too much style, think celeb endorsed ICOs and endless press release hype cycles can signal a lack of substance. How can you not think about what we recently spoke about with Mayweather and DJ Khaled? And actually, those founders just got taken down recently. So careful.
Right. I mean, it's again, this is someone that knows something in his arena of coding. Oh, this is what I was going to say. If this guy was actually a good coder at security, go and help Bitcoin be anonymous. Don't print your own money. Go prove yourself alongside other proven smart developers. Okay, and don't print your own money. Like, it's ridiculous.
Okay, I guess last comment. This is just cracking me up at this point, actually. That it's saying that, and it's true, that they have a modest mission, which they're saying could make for a compelling product a bit further down the blockchain. How is that good business at all? And especially potentially, why they have to do this situation. I mean, you can't get funding without having a solid business plan and understanding of where the vision state is, and especially without a roadmap of how to get there. And with that, and with saying that, not even like mentioning like a roadmap with iteration of MVP, but that they don't know what they want this to be. That's
and Binance, an exchange, is investing like $30 million in this. Isn't there a conflict of interest of an exchange that's going to trade this garbage to invest in it and bring it to market? But hey, what do I know? I'm just a former Wall Street guy, right?
Nothing's illegal yet in this world, it seems. Okay, so new batch overflow bug in multiple ERC20 smart contracts. I'm not going to read this number. And so this Medium article just explains what happens. We do have the OKEX note after this, but Tone, can you explain, break this down?
Sure. Smart contracts, Turing complete code is ridiculous. I want to use another R word, but I don't want people to complain. This is why Turing completeness did not exist on Bitcoin, and why Satoshi didn't put it there, and why no one is dumb enough to put Turing completeness there. This is one of the many bugs that is going to be discovered and exploited on the ERC20 system and on Ethereum itself. This is standard operating procedure for anything that is Ethereum, connected to Ethereum, or any other Turing completeness insanity that people want to code. Again, when you print your own money and you don't know what you're doing, someone is going to exploit your system. So this is just, again, standard operating procedure that someone can just, double copy all of your coins and send them somewhere and sell them. I mean, this is actually great. I mean, whichever these two coins got exploited, it's the greatest thing ever for those two coins, because I know I've never heard of them before this. And now the world's going to hear of these coins, and some 12-year-olds in a chat group are going to pump these coins up in about 6 months because no one because they've now come on their radar. They're going to buy a bunch of them. They're going to wait for this news to blow over, and then they're going to pump it like it's the greatest coin in the world. For a recent example of something like this, just look at Digibyte. I mean, Digibyte was as stupid as they come. Back in 2014 and 2015, it launched, or NAM. NAM is another one. I mean, these things launched back in 2014, 2015. Nobody cared what they were. They were dead until enough 12-year-olds had them, and then they were printing their own money, and they were now able to pump them like they're somehow useful. I mean, that's all this is. I mean, again, if you're building anything on ERC20, your company will not succeed. Like it's just there for you to print money, and as long as Ethereum it lasts, and let's see what happens with Casper, the unfriendly ghost, if Ethereum is actually going to last.
Right. That's true. And then, for everybody to note all the controversy recently about OKEX. So, yeah, I think that's salient. So just ending on a couple last notes, which we may do in the future. So just the stories that obviously Gemini increased cryptocurrency trading oversight with NASDAQ's technology. I actually think that the Winklevi are being quite smart here, or at least they're getting good advice from someone. And they're partnering with the right people. So I'm impressed with how they approach things here. And just to note a little more tech, that it's using NASDAQ's market surveillance technology, and that detects manipulation and fraudulent trades. And it's called this SMARTS, SMARTS, market surveillance. And again, it helps monitor all the trading pairs. The next story we just wanted to say is that, the police in Chinese city, actually, I don't know which one right now, sees 600 computers used to mine Bitcoin. And then something that I like is that Arizona's crypto tax payments bill have cleared another hurdle. So in a key committee in the Arizona's House of Reps, and it's now on the floor. So just Tone, any last thoughts on those?
No, not really. I mean, they're just good stories to keep in mind. I mean, Gemini leveraging NASDAQ technology. I mean, that's obviously good, and it's something they should do since they're working with NASDAQ. And now the Chinese didn't go after those miners because they're going after miners. It was a very specific case where there was an improper use of electricity with all those miners, and so they went after that specific operation. And this is also a good thing because now you'll know where the miners are, right? I mean, it's good and bad. It's not as decentralized, but at least anyway, we'll see if this is good or bad. But it was basically an electricity issue. It wasn't the fact that they made miners illegal. And the Arizona tax bill. I mean, I don't know why anyone would want to pay their taxes in crypto. And I don't know. Let's see where Coinbase stands here. Let's see if Coinbase, for the reason why a lot of Bitcoiners got into this thing is to to get away from all this government stuff. But so let's see if Coinbase was on the side of Bitcoiners. Yeah, no, we're not working with government, but it's the complete opposite, right? Coinbase is working with government. So there you go. So I mean, I guess it's good if you want to pay your tax bills with Bitcoin. Sure, I do not advise that.
True. And to note, I do remember it was in the city of Tianjin, and correct. Yeah, it's just about abnormal electricity usage. So not too much FUD there. And yeah, the thing I do like about the Arizona story, though, is that the people pushing it in Arizona are educating. and are very pro Bitcoin. So at least we have someone on the Hill that's trying to educate very incompetent people such as Brad Sherman about the Bitcoin ecosystem. So at least hopefully that'll lead to something understood that yes, paying taxes in Bitcoin makes no sense, especially since vast majority of us are hodlers. But I do see it as a pro for education.
And also, why would you pay in Bitcoin for something where you know for a fact that immediately gets converted to fiat?
Can't argue with there.
And then people still think, Bitcoin is going to go up and up and up and up. Really? When you're trying to use it in a way that it gets immediately sold in the open market?
Can't argue. Can't argue. So, Tone, Dow's down yesterday, almost 2%. Crazy.
Yeah, I was starting to, I got my traditional trades on, and while they are hedged, they're not exactly hedged for multiple 2% drops in the market. So I need to be real careful in about 10 minutes when the market opens, because if we're dropping another 2%, I may have to rebalance some portfolios here. They're not really designed for that, my trades. So we'll see how it goes. All right, I have to do screen share, don't I? All right, let's do it. All right, guys, don't forget, I am speaking at a conference today here in Miami, the Blockchain Nation event. I believe I speak at noon, so right after this, I gotta boogie on over there so I can do my presentation around noon Eastern. Damn it, I missed McAfee. I feel so bad. But yeah, so there is a conference going on right now over in Aventura, and it's a 2-day conference. Okay, price of Bitcoin. So the weekly chart, nothing has really changed. We did pull back. All of the gains that we got yesterday are pretty much have been taken away from us already today. The day is halfway in. Let's see how the day ends. Again, we've been here before after a bounce, not this high above the trend line. And I remain skeptical this whole move up, right? I'm not going to do revisionist history. I'm skeptical because I still see this as a bear market. And in a bear market, the only way I would consider a bullish trade is if all the ducks perfectly line up for me to take the bullish trade. At no point on this big move did the ducks line up for a safe bullish trade. So I obviously did not mention a single real bullish trade yet. I did mention a couple of bearish trades along the way. One of them being right here off of this 9 at the 50-day moving average. That took place, what day? That took place on the 16th of this month, the 16th of April. So this was a high probability short, didn't work out, properly entered, would not have cost you any money. And on the way up, again, I didn't like the way this candle took place. There was probably, you could have probably did a long here at 9,000, looking for a 9 3 days from now into the depth cross, but it really depends how the current daily candle closes. If the current daily candle pulls back up and closes above, let's say 93, 9,400 in that vicinity, then it is very possible that we will go into the depth cross of just under $10,000 and perhaps give us a high probability short indication in this depth cross and on a 9 3 days from now. If we turn here and start to go down significantly, it would have been hard to time the trade, at least for me, by a little bit. And we have broken one more level of resistance, being the setup trend line. But we are now coming up on the moving average resistance, and there is a double here, and these lines are closing in very quickly. So I do expect them to cross in a couple of days. So I remain generally bearish between the, the weekly chart has turned bullish, especially if you only use this indicator. However, I want to see a pullback. What could make me bullish? If we go down back to 7,600 and we, touch the combination of 50-day moving average, the Fibonacci line, and the trend line, and bounce hard off of it. Hard with some crazy volume, bounce significantly to the upside. Otherwise, coming back to the $7,600 area will make me even more bearish that we're gonna break these lows. This is just not how markets bottom. Can this be the 10 to 15% of the time that markets bottom like this? Sure. But once again, I'm gonna Google Adam and Eve trading signal, right? And this is what people talked about, and I've mentioned it before on this show. And here's the picture that I showed. Here's your sharp decline with a doji reversal. There's your slightly higher decline that is more rounded. And then you go up, and then look what happened after. So again, Bitcoin is not going to gap, but this is my higher probability scenario. And by higher probability, it just needs to be 51% versus 49% for me to consider this and not exactly be eager to go in. Could money be made off of this area right here going up? Sure. Is there a somewhat safe trade above this ABC line on a breakout? Yeah, if you're careful, because if you're not careful, you're going to end up below both of these lows. So this is kind of how I'm looking at it at this current outlook. When people say, did you not see the Adam and Eve pattern? Well, I did. I just don't see it as a bottom. I see it as a short-term thing that can reverse back down any moment. So let's see how today ends, right? If this pattern breaks, I would rather see this go to a 9 for a higher probability short. If we break this sequential count and we price flip, makes it a harder trade, makes it a crappier risk reward trade to the short side, or makes it harder to time your exit from your bullish positions. And this is all independent of being a hodler and believing in Bitcoin. I would love to sell some Bitcoin. I gotta make some calls when I get back to New York while at these prices. But if it goes higher, great. I'm only gonna sell enough to pay my bills for the next few months because I'm very happy at these prices. I thought it would be way lower by now. And that's the thing, right? The longer we delay a real bottom, the longer the pain, right? So had we fallen to 4,600 by now, had we fallen to 1,300 by now, we could have been on the way back to all-time highs. But now it's very likely that we may not see the bottom in Bitcoin till like the end of the year. So if you're a good trader and you were able to profit from this upswing, great. But I don't see enough signs here to be long-term bullish challenging all-time highs. And I already talked about that when people say you don't look at the fundamentals. I consider fundamentals. To me, the fundamentals of Bitcoin and the crypto are currently bearish. Just look at Bitcoin.com, which have now listed Bitcoin as B-Trash and the real Bitcoin as Bitcoin Core on their website. Lots of headwinds here in Bitcoin fundamentals. So be careful. Here is the 12-hour chart. The 12-hour chart topped out on an aggressive 13. So there was something for you to be cautious on. These arrows don't show up every candle, but every time they do, you want to pay attention, okay? And we don't have a price flip yet, but we're back under the 200 period moving average. What else do I have here? Here's the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart timed you pretty well. So the triangle breakout met its target, and we topped out on a combo 13 after a bunch of 13s in earlier candles. Lots of warning signs here, and then there was a 9 following the candle that gave you the high. So using the 4-hour chart, you did have an indication that you need to be careful with Bitcoin for the immediate future. Let's see if the combination of 50-day moving average and setup trend line can hold the price of Bitcoin at the $800 range, and we make that push into the daily 9 plus the moving average crossover between the 128 and the 200-day moving average. What else do I have on here? Gold. I'm going to talk about gold soon. This would be a high probability bullish trade the moment we can break above 1385. S&P 500 almost killed my trade yesterday, and that I thought was a... Anyway, I'm going to talk about my traditional trading probably going into this weekend when I finish my traditional trading. So this is like the worst week for me between going to a conference and speak and actually caring about my retirement fund, because all of it is sitting in one position that was in danger yesterday at the lows of the market. So I need the stock market to hold 2608, the 200-day moving average, over the next few days, or my super complicated spread trade that has taken up my entire retirement account could potentially be in jeopardy. So that's on my plate. What is this? This is B-Trash. Oh, B-Trash. So I actually tweeted this out. I haven't tweeted like charts in a long time. So I really like the fact that B-Trash topped out on a daily 9. And if you zoom in on the very tip of that 9 with a 1-hour chart, you will see that during that hour, it literally peaked on a 9. Now, this is the hour of midnight, UTC. Oh, no, this is UTC -4. So this is probably New York time. So at midnight New York time, it peaked on 424. We can try and zoom in further. I can go to the 10-minute chart just out of curiosity and see what happened on 424 at midnight, 424.15. Just curious if you could have timed your exit to 10 minutes. I have not looked at this prior. No, it doesn't look like you could have. Looks like it would have been difficult, but let's see. It would have been in this range here. This was the high. Oh yeah, there it is. It was on sequential 13. Beautiful. So the B-Trash, if you go to the 10-minute chart, it topped out on a 13, but getting out on the combo or aggressive 13 would have also suited you very, very well. But this is traditional sequential or time to mark indicator. You know, you got a 9 and then you trade and it goes higher. You trade the countdown and it literally tops on a 13 when you go down to the 10-minute mark. Wow, that's actually really impressive. But yes. So don't forget, I am off to the blockchain event here in Miami at Aventura. The moment we end this show, that is where I'll be for the rest of the day, but I'll be glued to my traditional market portfolio.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Tony, I think you're still on screen share, but that's good. All right, everybody have a great day. You can listen to this later on iTunes. Thanks to the World Crypto Network. Thank you, guys. Don?
No, thanks for watching, guys. We'll try to bring you Giacomo back next week, and Jimmy should be back as well. It was just a little too early for his side of the country.
Fantastic. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.